If you're someone who suffers from seasonal allergies, Orthomolecular's D-Hist might be the product for you. I really like D-Hist because it's the original product that Orthomolecular started their company with. It's the only product they have made over the years they have not changed their formulation on, so they're very proud of the way that D-Hist works and its usefulness. One of the things I learned out recently as far as the mechanism of action of D-Hist is before I used to think it was kind of like Benadryl or Claritin because it has the word hist in there. I always thought of it as being sort of like an antihistamine in the way it works, but I found out that's really not true. The way it works, it's more like the prescription drug called Singulair, or the generic name is Montelukast, in that it helps stabilize the mast cell. What is a mast cell? A mast cell is an immunological cell in our body that when it comes in contact with something that it doesn't like, it kind of breaks open and it starts flooding your system with inflammatory mediators to cause your body to respond in an aggressive fashion. Now, when we do this with allergens, it's doing it to our detriment because those allergens really aren't harming us, but our body thinks it is, and so it kind of just dumps all these inflammatory proteins and messenger molecules into our bloodstream. So what this does, it helps stabilize that membrane around those mast cells to keep them from breaking open. So ideally, you could use D-Hist in combination with an antihistamine for someone who has really, really bad allergies. They would work in different ways. So the D-Hist would keep the cells from breaking open, and the antihistamine would take care of the histamine that gets released on stuff that the D-Hist did not take care of. So it's kind of hitting, this would hit a little bit earlier in that cascade, and the antihistamine like Claritin or Benadryl would hit later. Now there are some side effects to these antihistamines, especially what are called the first generation ones. If you're kind of curious which ones are first generation, it's the ones that came out before. So that would be something like Benadryl or generic Benadryl called diphenhydramine. These are the older ones. They tend to be a little more potent than the newer medicines. They also cause drowsiness. So anything that causes drowsiness is typically a first generation. Things like Claritin and Zyrtec and Allegra, these are second generations which don't cause drowsiness. Not quite as potent, but they're a lot more tolerable. Now the first generation antihistamines have been associated with dementia, especially over long-term use. And for people over 65, there can be an increase in hip fracture, probably because people are waking up kind of confused and a little bit out of it at nighttime when they're on these and real drowsy, and they slip and fall and break their hip. So things to look out for when you're taking those first generations. The natural D-Hist, though, kind of does not act in the same way. It's more of a natural way of doing this. There is a big caveat to the way D-Hist is administered, so a lot of people that try this don't think it works. And the thing is, it has a loading dose to it, and it's actually written on the bottle back here, so I'll kind of read it to you. The loading dose is very important, and you're supposed to take 2 capsules 3 times a day for 7 to 10 days. Then after that, then you go on your maintenance dose, which is about 1 to 2 capsules a day, depending on the severity of your allergies. So if you're someone who suffers from seasonal allergies and you kind of know when those start to kick in, you would want to start your loading dose before you start experiencing symptoms. And then hopefully you won't experience symptoms at all when that season happens to hit. Or if they've already started, you can go ahead and start on that loading dose again. So usually it's better to get 2 bottles right up front because the first one's going to get depleted pretty quickly as you're going through that loading dose. So I hope this explains D-Hist, the way it works, the way it's a little bit different than over-the-counter antihistamines, and the way you should properly take D-Hist in order to get the fullest benefit. This is Dr. Scott Nall from thevillageosteopath.com, helping you restore your health and optimize your life.